Hello everybody and welcome along to a brand new season of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV, brought to you by 3M. It's season 12 of this magnificent championship and we're going to bring you each and every week of the season 12 action right here on RaceSpotTV. My name is Paul Smith, alongside me as always here is Peter Mackay. And Peter, I mean, we had a thrilling season last season. We start all over again.
Everything reset to zero, many of the same characters coming back to race, some new cars to play with for many of our drivers as well, and well, I think it's going to be more of the same. If you've seen World GT before, you know what you're in for. If not, strap in, it's going to be fun.
It certainly is, and a tremendous venue that we're going to be starting off with 12 weeks, should I say, of action for you here in this championship. And we start off this week at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. But here's the format of the championship. So for 4 of those 12 weeks, we have sprint events where it's 3 20-minute races, with races 2 and 3 having inverted grids. 4 of our championship rounds are 2 40-minute races with a mandatory pit stop and the second race having an inverted grid. And then 4 of the championship rounds are an endurance race lasting 1 hour 45 minutes, 2 mandatory pit stops, and that's what we've got for you here tonight from Circuit Barcelona, Catalonia. We're on the historic layout of this venue, so the fast sweeping final corner for you to enjoy. It's really going to test these cars in terms of their tyre life. Imola next week is going to be the first of our feature rounds, and then Monza, week number 3, is going to be the first of our sprint rounds. And we have a week off before we head to Road Atlanta. What a venue, what a classic venue for endurance racing. It's an endurance round at Road Atlanta. The week after, Road America, before we head on over to Daytona for 3 sprint races. Another week's break before we head on over to Fuji Speedway, the first time that the championship heads to Fuji International Raceway. Long Beach gets 2 feature races with Sandown International. I mean, that's going to produce some interesting races. 3 sprint races around Sandown is going to be tremendous. We get another week off and then it's the final run-in for the championship. Spa-Francorchamps will be our final endurance round, with Silverstone our 2 feature races, and then to finish off, Nürburgring on the Grand Prix layout, 3 sprint races around there to decide who is going to be champion. And of course, the championship, it's not just an overall championship. We have 3 different categories of drivers. We've got Pro, Pro-Am and Am. And that's what helps this championship really set itself apart from other championships, Peter, because it gives a lot of the grid opportunities to win a championship.
It does, and I think you find the most complete driver at every skill level as well, because it's not like we're having 3 separate races. All of the drivers race together in one race. So the top drivers, they have to know how to deal with others in perhaps the less experienced classes, and indeed those in the less experienced classes have to worry about the pro drivers sometimes coming through from the back of the pack as well. That is what World GT Championship about, is being the complete driver, and you could argue that's why Ross McFarlane, defending champion, is the number 1 plate on the side of his car.
Yeah, certainly. All 3 of our reigning champions are returning here today. So Ross McFarlane, as you mentioned, Pro champion last season. Mark Hutchinson come back to defend his Pro-Am championship, and Lars van Rijn to defend his Am championship here today. But we've got some tremendous action coming up for you today. As I say, 1 hour and 45 minutes and some new names into the championship, including Jauad Karoni right there on screen.
Yeah, great to see some new faces. I mean, so many returning drivers, which is always nice to see. But yes, a few new faces who are very welcome here in the World GT Championship. A change of team and a change of car for Adam Watson. He put in some great giant killing performances in the Team Mad Porsche last time out. This season he's opted for the Altitude Esports Audi R8. But one mention, if I may, Paul, number 107 in the AM class, 10th overall, Edward May, newcomer to the championship. What is Adam using a little bit more of the track than he intended to there? But Edward May, what a performance from him.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous stuff for him to be in 10th place in qualifying. So the the drivers, in terms of their categories, they do get decided and they get re-evaluated after 3 rounds. But here's a team that I'm really liking seeing involved. Brabham Esports. What a name to bring to the championship than Brabham. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about them in just a few moments' time, because it is time to go through our starting grid here for this opening round of the championship. And on pole position, newcomer to the championship, Jacob, I'm going to apologise straight away, Magic, oh my goodness, Maciejewski, yeah, that's the one. I was practicing that earlier. Ross McFarlane sharing the front row by 40 thousandths of a second between them two. Alexander Davidson, great to see him in row number 2 with Josh Thompson. Michael Avdoka and Alex Gall on row number 3. Row number 4, Jared Garoni with Jack Sedgwick. Adam Watson and Ed May on row number 5 with Tom Dadswell and Yanis Albert, should I say, on row number 6. Row 7 for Ashla Finch and James Armstrong. Chris Van Den Ness and Michael Gray share the next row of the grid, with row number 9 being Ethan Critchley and Jensen Adriansons. Row 20 for Kevin Kittleman and Adam State. Alex Neller and Mike Horder on row number 11 with Adam Coles and Matt Fletcher, row number 12. Row 13 for Andy Archer and Adam Hedgecock with Paul Webster and Jack Osborne, row number 14. Row 15 for Eric Haag and Tim Perry. 16th row of the grid for Ben Gregory and Martin de Jong, with Jim Whitehouse and Pete Harrod then sharing the 17th row of the grid. Jack Belton and Sarah Raab on row number 18. Mark Hutchinson and Jessica Wilkins, row number 19, with the 20th row shared by Richard Simner and Simon Neller. Row number 21 for Paul Crawford and Phil Samways. Row 22 for Russell Barnes and Christian Malcharek, with Patrick Faulkner and Craig Jones sharing row number 23. Row 24 for Michael Blake and Jonathan Walker. 25th row of the grid for Mark Woodhouse and Nick Salaputis, with Brian Son and Lars Van Rijn in the next row of the grid. David Nichols and Brendan Stacey then down to 54th. It's a big old grid because Lee Berridge, Jeroen Kaiser and Andy Gilmore round out the final 2 rows of the grid. Peter, huge grid to start the season, 57 cars. But as I say, Brabham Esports, what a name to come to the series.
Just fantastic. Well, print off your entry list from your Olivetti printer, eat your Parmalat yogurts. It's great to have them in the World GT Championship. Great to have them in Virtual Motorsport, and those colours, oh, love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah, the colours that Sir Jack, of course, used to race in, and I'm sure we'll see plenty more of that. But the drivers are coming round the final corner then. It's an all Mercedes front row with Mercedes and BMW row number 2. And onto the power, nice and early for the start. The green flag will be in the air and we'll be underway for an hour and 45 minutes. As they cross the line then, heading down towards turn number 1. Big grid to get us through turn number 1. Can they all make it through? Onto the brakes, hard there, Ross McFarlane. Almost getting into the back of your pole sitter, not quite doing so. Managed to keep it out the way. They've come through turn number 3 here at Barcelona. This historic layout, as we've got a car in the background around. Is that Paul Webster facing the wrong way? No, it isn't. It's Michael Gray who is facing the wrong way, I do believe. We'll carry on this opening lap. So far, so good in terms of the action. Into the hairpin, and these are crucial times, Peter, because this is obviously the best opportunity for you to make up some big places.
It is. You've got an opportunity to make the places up, but it's risk and reward, as we've seen a few drivers tipping off already. You've got to be super, super careful. You can end your race here in this opening lap as well. Although it's an hour and 45 minutes, it's Ed May barging one of the Brabham Esports car out of the way. I think that was James Armstrong who got a bit of a hip and shoulder there. Has to go very defensive as they approach the hairpin. And yeah, whoa, just misses his braking point slightly. So completely off the racing line, of course, on the braking point there. And yeah, just missed his braking point, but luckily managed to avoid any further incident.
And it was Albert who was alongside him as well as teammate. So it would have been a little bit of a heart-in-mouth moment for the team manager as the two teammates were heading towards each other very closely, but fortunately no contact made. But we've made it to the end of lap 1. We've stayed green flag racing. We've got moves being made further down in your order as well. Side by side, almost going 3 wide as we go down this long start and finish straight. Onto the brakes, Adam State. Good to see him back for Satellite Racing in a new car, the Mercedes. Fantastic to see Adam and others returning to the series. We've got some tremendous talent out here on grid, and it's showing by the fact that of the cars that took the start, your own cars did not take the start. 56 cars are still remaining in this race.
Yeah, so luckily we've got a proper full-size Grand Prix track to start off the season to get all those cars onto the grid as we ride on board with Adam State and his rig, going for a more conventional setup, not using the VR headset you sometimes see. And looking very calm, looking very relaxed is Adam there as well, at least for now. I hope those are 3M gloves he's got on.
Can't quite see them, can we? But yeah, Adam then concentrating, he's got the headset on, he's wanting that full just immersion to hear everything that's going on with the car. Onto the power, and of course we've not got the tighter hairpin at turn 10. It's that long sweeping left-hander, which does loses a potential overtaking spot around this layout, but it does mean that we get to see this brilliant sequence of corners at the end of the lap, and it really tests these drivers. And Adam just running a little bit wide into the gravel.
Yeah, we're going to see that a lot. That last corner, if you fans of MotoGP will remember Valentino Rossi in 2009 going past Jorge Lorenzo on the last lap. That was the corner he did it at. Looks like we've got a car there serving a slowdown penalty, perhaps for running on. It's one of the Century Sim machines, number 97 there. Had to basically get on the brakes on the straight. That was Ethan Critchley. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of that, Paul, with drivers just winding on the power and trying to carry as much speed onto the straight as possible and running wide.
And yeah, we've not even had 5 minutes of racing and still the field is only covered by, I can tell you right now, it's covered by 25 seconds already. So there's been a little bit of field spread, but actually it's not too bad here. The drivers are all pretty evenly matched in this field, which is what you'll love to see in a series like this. Everybody having that opportunity to get a good result, and this opening round giving us some opportunity, and it gives the drivers a bit of a more relaxed start to the season, doesn't it? With it being an endurance race, the old series regulations, it started off with sprint races, so you ended up with a bit more carnage. Here, starting off with an endurance race, it just lets people get the feelers and see how they're going to fare in the series.
Yeah, I think it's a very good move from the organisers who work super hard all the time to make sure that the racing experience for all competitors up and down the grid in the World GT Championship is as enjoyable as it can be. And sometimes that involves, making some pretty difficult decisions, and they're always on top of that and do a super job. But at the front we have our series newcomer Majeski. We're holding off defending champion Ross McFarlane, and a big move for Pure Sims. They've ran the Lamborghini Huracan for a very long time, it seems, for a good few seasons here on the iRacing platform. Had a huge amount of mileage and data, but they've switched to this new Mercedes AMG Evo version, the 2020 version, which is new here on the iRacing platform. So starting from scratch, but they obviously believe the platform has potential to take them to the next level.
Yeah, it certainly does. And how many times have we seen this at the endurance races with Ross McFarlane? He's just been so good in these. Just sit behind. You'll see him sit behind for the first stint, just do as much fuel saving as he possibly can. And then stint 2, stint 3, that's when you really see the pace come out of him in these events with the longer endurance events. And have a funny feeling that we're going to see it again. He's letting Majewski just get off and set the stall, and he'll be happy just sitting behind. One person who isn't happy sitting behind is Yannis Albert, trying to make his way past Ed May. So two newcomers to the series, and they're tripping over each other. But the crucial thing here is that Ed May, an AM driver, for the moment at least, let's see if that carries on throughout the season, fighting it out with Yannis Albert.
Yeah, and Ed looking very comfortable in the position he's in at the moment, but Albert's got a bit of a run and then just lifts off the throttle there just a little bit early coming into the braking zone. We might see that particularly in this first phase of the race, drivers trying to just minimise their fuel consumption as much as they can, also minimising the tyre consumption, because this is a circuit that really does beat the tyre up. It's going to be hot this time of year in Catalonia, but also you're really putting there's a lot of long corners at reasonable speed as well. So yeah, the tyres are definitely going to be a big discussion, I would think, over the course of this race. Albert, he's got his mascot there.
Yeah,
looks
absolutely.
Like Ted. Yeah.
Yeah,
his Thunder Buddy.
Yeah, we cannot sing the Thunder Buddy song. No, we cannot sing it. Yeah, Albert going along. We have actually had a car tow to the pits, which is Sarah Raab, the AM driver. So something has happened out there for Sarah to take a tow back to pit road. Can tell you the conditions here. You said it's brutal on the tyres. Track temperature at the moment is 40 degrees Celsius. We're at 12:20 in the afternoon in Sim, so it's only going to get hotter out there as well, because it's only partly cloudy sky. So that's really going to be intriguing to see. Here's what happened to Sarah Raab. There's a car spun off and then just gets collected by the Century Sim Racing car, and multiple car crash there. And Sarah, I think, picked up a bit of suspension damage, forcing her to take a tow back to the pit lane.
Oh dear, yeah, that was a head-on collision there. Now, the good thing in World GT Championship competition is you do get a fast repair. So when you do get the car back to pit lane, whether that be on its own power or by the electronic tow, you do get effectively a brand new car, a spare car. So all is not lost. That's one of my favourite regulations in the World GT Championship, because there's nothing worse than just having the race over after 15 minutes and then I'll just park up. It definitely, it's just that nice balance between red hot competition and inclusive spirit as well. I really like it.
Yeah, let's have a look. I think this is what else happened in that instant. And so Jim taking the inside, Ben Gregory went for a move, and that's the initial contact, and it all just went on from there. Multiple collisions, and Jim Whitehouse, unfortunately for him, down in 52nd now. A loss of, get this, Peter, 19 positions because of that incident. So not been a good day for him. Not a good day for Michael Gray as well, after that lap one spin into the tyre wall, down 22 places to 38th in this race. So a couple of drivers just finding they're going a little bit tough early on here, but we're on lap 6 of the event, and these drivers are still pushing on. They're still forging a good pace out there, and it won't be long before my timing screen that I've got access to at least starts giving me 5 lap average of lap time. So that'll be really helpful to see as to how the drivers are comparing. I mean, as you can imagine, the top 7 are all pretty much matching lap time wise.
Yeah, that's very true. And actually, bizarrely, the driver leading the race is Mark Woodhouse gets way out onto the marbles a little bit by some form of miracle, and excellent driving from the others. They all managed to avoid him, and Woodhouse carries on unharmed. But that was close. And that's a big car to be blocking the road, basically.
It's certainly got a long bonnet, that's for sure. It's that car.
It's like a speedboat, isn't it?
It's a big old engine that's got to fit in there, isn't it? Was it a 6.2 litre V8 engine? Yeah.
That engine, they've definitely got their mileage out of that engine, have AMG. I remember that when that got fitted to the C63 back in 2007, 2008. And I was just getting my driving licence at the time, and I remember seeing one at the Bakewell show of all places, and I just thought, oh yeah, that's a bit of me, a C63 AMG.
Craig Jones making some moves, and Brendan Stacey making life significantly easier for Craig by going completely off the track at the hairpin at turn 5. Gets himself back onto track, but that means that he does drop down a few places, whereas Matt Woodhouse, he's trying to recover from that slide. And he's currently... so this is sort of a feature of our graphics package for this year that you're going to see, is that on the lower third there, you can see it's a Pro-Am driver. He's 15th in Pro-Am as another car goes off. That's Craig Jones now going off. So you can see how they compare against the compactorates in their class. However, the points that they score at the end of the season, at the end of the race, is from their overall standings, not from their actual individual classes. Meanwhile, Josh Thompson and Alexander Davidson, switching places there, and Thompson moving up to 3rd place because McFarlane and Maczewski have just pulled away slightly at the front.
Yeah, they have. There's a bit of separation now, about 1.1 seconds between the back of McFarlane's car and Josh Thompson in that white and orange Team Redline BMW. So Thompson might have to just get pushed a little bit on here to try and not lose touch with the leaders, because you don't want to be giving away any whiff of an advantage to your competitors at this very top level in the pro class. It's so hotly contested, and right now McFarlane's sitting in the perfect position. He's using Maczewski as almost as kind of windbreak, using it to save fuel. He'll be lifting off the throttle earlier. Meanwhile, the Maczewski, our pole sitter, he'll be doing the heavy lifting. Oh, that was always going to reach ahead, wasn't it? Oh dear.
Kevin Kittleman finding out that Andy Archer's shoulder barges are indeed very, very stiff indeed as Archer went down the inside. Here's another Century Sim Racing car, and it didn't quite pan out for him. Pete Harrod, he had a tremendous season last season for Century Sim Racing, helping them win the Pro-Am Teams Championship last season, and dropping down the order pretty quickly there.
Yeah, just it seems a few drivers just getting caught out on the brakes. Just whoa! Well, I think something's broken in that car, because that seemed a very... Oh, he forgot to turn the traction control back on. That'll do it.
Well, it'll be that, and also he's put a lot of heat through those tyres as well, hasn't he? So they won't be giving him ideal grip.
Because he switches the traction control off here, does a flick turn, and I wonder if he's forgot to put it back on again. Oh no, it's broken. Oh, it's crabbing. It's crabbing. The car's crabbing.
Yeah, we're just seeing it, yeah.
Well, he's not got far to go to pit lane, you'll be pleased to know.
Well, I mean, he's a former drifter, is Pete. Well, no, it's carrying on, so I think your initial assumption was correct, that it was the traction control that he hadn't switched off. But he's a former drift driver, is Pete Harron, so if anybody can handle the back end just sliding out, it's this man we're riding on board with.
Well, if you throw enough theories at the wall, one of them's going to stick. So I'm glad it was the first one I mentioned. Yeah, as you can see there, the Fanatec steering wheel absolutely straight as a die. So, no problem at all for Pete Harrod. And, yeah, I mean, I think he got away with that pretty lightly, because there was a couple of big kind of shunts, one to the front, one to the rear. He's carried on, but maybe going to try and limp it to the first kind of pit stop window. Of course, the cars do not have their full 1 hour pit with their 1 hour's worth of fuel. They have limited fuel tanks, so see them run about 40 minutes. Paul
Crawford.
Oh dear.
Well, he went down to neutral, then changed to first gear then, and he's just sat at the side of the track, so bizarre. Must be having some sort of technical problem. And engine. It's a long time since I've seen a GT3 car blow its engine.
Yeah, because usually the only time you'll see an engine is if you down change too quickly, but the car often doesn't let you. Let's listen. Off the limiter. I
wonder if it doesn't look like it's got any front end damage that would have damaged the radiator, because that can have an effect on the engine. I don't know, but maybe he has just sort of accidentally hit a downshift, but they normally have shift protection on these cars, don't they?
Yes, they do. I think what's happened, Paul, is that he's had the car won't, like you say, it won't let you downshift too early and blow the engine. a la George Simmons in the Nürburgring 24 this year. Sorry, George. But on the upshift, I think he's maybe had the car right on the rev limiter, and then he's hit a bump and it's put it over the top of the rev limiter and blown the engine.
Yeah, that could well be. That's a good shout there, Peter. It's almost like you've watched motorsport for a very long time, like myself. But anyway, as things stand right now, is Macheski at the front of the field ahead of Ross McFarlane. Josh Thompson, third place, is about a second and a half off the lead right now, ahead of Alex Davidson. With Alex Gall in fifth place. Michael Abdurka sixth ahead of Jack Sedgwick. Now that front six have actually pulled away slightly from Jack Sedgwick. So Jack just not able to quite keep with the front six here. Further down, then it's Joad Caroni, Tom Dadswell with James Armstrong and Adam Watson. Your leading AM is actually in 12th place, Ed May. As we said, a tremendous qualifying position for him, and he's found himself currently in 12th place. Your top Pro-Am is Chris van der Ness in 14th place right now, so an AM is even beating the Pro-Am leader.
Oh, it's Lee Berridge makes similar mistake and takes one of the Century Sim cars with him. Dear me, there's a few drivers making a mistake at that corner, just coming into the kind of stadium section at Bank Sabadell.
It is a tricky corner though, isn't it?
Very.
Because you are trying to... It's very tempting to get on the power. Well, first of all, carry too much speed into the corner, like Ben Gregory is showing here at the final corner with the flame spitting. Oh, McLaren and Matt Woodhouse. Well, things go from bad to worse for Mark. He had a half a spin up at turn 11, and now he had just had a car in front of him with nowhere to go.
And you want to watch that naked flame near a Woodhouse.
Especially in this weather.
Get my coat.
Going back to the point that I was making, Ed May, amateur driver, new to the series, currently ahead of your leading Pro-Am driver, Chris van der Ness. I mean, we've seen how good Chris van der Ness's defensive driving has been throughout the through the last couple of seasons. It's good to see, though, that somebody new to the championship doing so well when they've been ranked as an AM driver in this category.
I think I think Ed should maybe take a picture of that AM license, because it's going to go in the bin quite soon, I think. Amazing performance, but that's the thing, is if you put the points on the board, they can't take the points off you. Yep. So get the points on the board, and if he was in Pro-Am, he'd be leading it. So to your point, so yeah, it's a fantastic start to the day. Also, we have to, if Ed comes in for an interview later, we have to ask him his joke about a drummer's twin daughters.
I'm really
it's totally it's PG-13. It is. It's okay.
That Indy Motorsports car touching the grass there on the entry to the chicane, not voluntarily, by the way, sort of squeezed to the grass. Then was that car. I'd rather not talk about grass after this weekend, but anyway, as we've got these drivers going into turn number 10, is the Century Sim Racing car at the head of this little gaggle of cars. That's Ethan Critchley, number 97, ahead of Mark Fletcher with Jensen Adriansson's behind. Now Ethan's second placed AM driver in the field at the moment, down there in 17th place overall. So again, another driver doing a good job on his debut in the season. And Century Sim Racing, I mean, they've got their facility out there in Warrington in Cheshire, and people from Warrington do like to make sure that you know that it's Cheshire. It's Jack Osborne coming into pit road. This is a bit early. Bit of damage to his car. Yeah, they're not Lancashire, they're definitely Cheshire. But they've got a tremendous sort of throughput of drivers now coming through at Century Sim Racing. They seem to really be stacking that team.
Yeah, they certainly are. I hope they've got a body shop there as well, because they've had a pretty bruising start to the season today with their cars. But yeah, it's fantastic to see them bringing on such talent through their team. Interestingly, at the top of the field, Josh Thompson's closed that gap back up to Ross McFarlane quite quickly. It did look like Ross and our leader Macheski were going to break away, but Thompson just deploying a bit of pace when he needed to close back in on the leader. There he is. Yeah, no difference at all between himself and second place. That being said, our leader Macheski, he's trying to bolt here. He's opened up the gap to 9/10.
Yeah, absolutely. So is he saying that that he's thinking, right, let's push on a little bit, see if I can pull out a gap here, and then see about running away? Because once you break the slipstream here at Circuit Barcelona to Catalonia, got that right, just not in the right order.
Perfect, spot on.
But it should be Circuit de Barcelona Catalonia, actually. There we go.
Is it?
Yeah, I did get it slightly the wrong way around. But once you break that slipstream here, it's very difficult for you to rein that car back in. So it's worth Ross trying to hang on to the slipstream of that car in front and maybe not fight Josh Thompson too much.
Well, of course, the two drivers know each other so well. They've raced against one another so many times, so they know how each other kind of do business. So Ross will be calculating all of that right now. He is such a calculated thinking driver. Never really seems to panic. No matter how fraught things might get, he always seems to remain calm in these sorts of situations. But Macheski, this is a super debut in the World GT Championship. And of course, last year we saw Luke McEwen come into the championship and have a big impact with huge pace. Didn't end up winning the championship in the end. That went to McFarlane based on just raw consistency. But Macheski, there he is. And well, I do wonder if it's warm where he is, because he's got the window open. That's very clever. Yeah, very clever indeed.
That's good placement of a sim rig.
Oh, yeah.
Get it right next to a fresh air source is what that is. That's proper planning.
He's asking his crew chief. He says, "Have they got my name right yet?" No. Okay.
I can tell you right now, I'm not going to get that name right all season, probably, knowing my luck. But yeah, so again, he's pulling out that gap. He went about a tenth and a half faster that last lap once again. His average lap times, I mean, his last 5 laps average time is a 1:14.991. Compare that to Ross McFarlane with a 1:41.061. Whereas Josh Thompson, the fastest of the three of them, a 1:40.950.
Bit wide there from Ross McFarlane. That's just a little driving error. You would really hope the tyres weren't going off at this stage, just 25 minutes into the race, but could just be the pressure that Thompson's putting on him. That menacing look of the angry teeth of that in front of that BMW M4 GT3 hunting down McFarlane. And yeah, the draft is pretty much broken now from our leader Macheski down to McFarlane. So I wonder if we'll see Macheski put in some really hot laps here to try and put a bit of distance between himself and McFarlane. The only thing is, though, how much fuel has he used in the process?
Well, I mean, this is the counter, isn't he? He's led all the way from the start of this race. He's not been able to do much fuel saving, if any at all. So that's going to be the big key factor for him in terms of a race win. And that's where we've seen in previous seasons the strategy play of Ross McFarlane really coming to the fore. Josh Thompson, of course, with Team Redline. He joined towards the end of the last World GT season, and it's good to see that Team Redline paint on his car, and of course Max Verstappen supporting that team, and the Red Bull sponsorship as well. That's very much coming in handy for that team, with how things have really turned around for them over the last year. They've really stepped up, and that little bit of time, especially away in the World Championship scene in terms of being at the front of that, has just allowed them to develop and bring through a new group of talent through, like Diogo Pinto, for example, who was racing this weekend in the 24 for them. Josh Thompson was racing for them as well in the 24 as well. So he's got a lot of seat time in this BMW right now.
Yeah, a huge amount of seat time in this car, absolutely. And I think that Redline in the last couple of seasons, I mean, if you want, they've really... Oh! Okay.
Ross, he facilitated that.
Right, okay. Okay, folks. Yeah, so Ross McFarlane there, I think simply accepting that Thompson maybe has a bit more pace. McFarlane says, I'm not going to fight this. I'm just going to... Now, the thing is here, though, Paul, will he be able to sit in behind him? Or is Thompson just on such a flyer right now? But yeah, coming back to Team Redline, they really are. I mean, if you want to beat them in a special event environment, in the endurance races, you've really got to be on your game. And it took, I mean, on Saturday at the 24 Hours of Spa, I mean, it took an absolutely perfect strategy and a perfect flawless race for VRS Coanda to topple them. Anything less than perfection wouldn't have done.
I did see on my track map that I have that the 111 of Mark Fletcher had a yellow flag next to his name, so he's had a little issue down at turn 5 hairpin, but he's back up and running now, so obviously no damage to his car, maybe a little bit of damage to his ego perhaps. But yeah, Thompson, I think he's decided that this is the moment now to try and, just like your race leader, try and make a run for it and try and pull out and get a bit of a gap, so that when it comes to the pit stops, maybe mitigate the fact that you may be having to pit a lap earlier, or 2 laps earlier perhaps, just by getting that gap out there, because you do want to be running with as little fuel as possible for as long as possible, because naturally your lap times will be quicker than if you've got a car with a load of fuel on board, as there's Richard Simner on pit road right now, getting his fuel done. And it's a strategy play as well. You know, it's a case of, do you do your short pit stop now, or do you go for the longer pit stop this time and go for the splash and dash at the end?
I have another working theory, Paul. It could be. Now, we saw it last season, and it was really the turning point of the season at Watkins Glen, coming into the Watkins Glen endurance race, and I think it was round 9 or 10 of the season, and Luke McEwen looked like he was cruising with the championship. He was gone. He had a pace advantage in qualifying. He was sprinting away from the field, and at that Watkins Glen race, everybody else took new tyres at the pit stop, whereas Ross McFarlane did the whole endurance race on one set of tyres, and that got the win. And that really changed the narrative of the championship, and it didn't return. Oh, there you go.
Thompson.
Oh, Josh Thompson makes a mistake early on in the lap there, the fast curving right-hander at the start of the lap. Coming back to the point, I wonder if Ross McFarlane's planning on running on the same set of tyres. Let's see, oh dear.
Just a little wiggle. Was there ever so slight contact? I mean, the thing is, that lap car, there's very little that car can do. It's just come out of the pits, and yeah, it's just unsettled, isn't it? He's off the line.
Maybe on the marbles, possibly. I don't know. Yeah, definitely offline. There's an ever so slight brush, just the tiniest brush. I mean, you're 5th gear there, so yeah, it's fast, really fast. So even the slightest brush will upset the car. Josh Thompson did a good job to keep that one out the barrier, but that's really affected his race massively. Just a tiny mistake, and again, Ross McFarlane just sort of plods on. Back into 2nd place he goes, and I do wonder, Paul, if he's planning on doing this whole race on one set of tyres.
Yeah, you do wonder, don't you? I mean, it's going to be tough because, first of all, this track is absolutely brutal on that front left-hand corner because of the number of sweeping right-handers around here. You know, turn 1 is hard on that front left. Turn 3 is absolutely brutal on the front left tyre. Turn 4, enough a right-hander. Turn 9 up over the crest. That's enough one that you're putting the forces through there. And then turns 12 and 13. At the end of the lap, you are really putting a lot of pressure, a lot of forces through that front left tyre. You are going to be just shredding that front tyre towards the end of the race.
Yeah, and I do wonder then, possibly, I mean, we might see teams electing just to change that front left, or just the left side. possibly, to save about 15 seconds in the pit stop. If you're new to iRacing, the way that it works is that the fuel in these cars, the fuel goes in first, and then you make the decision whether you want tyres or not. But that is an investment in time, not unlike if you're a fan of IMSA, perhaps. You know, in the IMSA races, you'll see the fuel and tyres going on at the same time, so you just put the tyres on all the time. But in iRacing, you've got the fuel in first, then the tyres in. To put 4 on, it's a 30-second loss of time, so it's a big difference. But did you see there, Paul, a big exhalation of breath there from Josh Thompson? Yeah, says it all.
But I think he, over the years, I mean, I've raced and commentated on Josh since, I think about 2016 was when the first time I sort of came across Josh as a driver here on iRacing. Simon Neller having a little bit of a self-spin there at turn 1, just carrying a little bit too much speed into the apex. I think it's the missing numbers off of his doors that really didn't help with that. Chris van der Ness, your Pro-Am leader, well, he's duking it out. He's not giving this one up. He's got Adam State in front of him. And he's got Jensen Adrianson, second placed in the Pro-Am category, right behind him. So Chris van der Ness, he's trying to move forward here, but he's also got to think behind as well.
Yeah, and Jensen Adrianson is a super driver. On his day can win in class at will. As we ride on board with him now, he's electing for the BMW this year for Indy Autosport. They're an outfit who really work hard at their racing. You know, they might not have the big name signings, but they put in a lot of laps and really work on the setup. They've got a good spirit in their team, and that's great to see. The Pro-Am battle is properly raging on.
Has Chris van der Ness got some damage to the front of his car? Because the front splitter doesn't look to be completely in the shape that it should be. Maybe he's clattered a curb or something like that. There is that sausage curb on the inside of turn number 1, which, I think everybody and their mothers know exactly what my thoughts are on sausage curbs. But
sausages.
Oh yeah, sausages I'm fine with. It's the curbs that are the problem. So, I don't know whether he's just got that slight bit of damage to the front splitter that's just maybe causing him to lose maybe just even a kilometre or 2 kilometres an hour. That can really have an effect on you, especially down that front straightaway.
Yeah, and for fuel consumption is going to be so important as well. It always is in these kind of cars where, you know, that any fuel consumption that you can save on track, you know, is saved in the pit lane. And at one car you have to look out for as well is that there's not many of them in the field this season, but the Porsche 911 GT3R doesn't necessarily have the outright one-lap pace, but it's fantastic on fuel consumption. It's pretty good on tyre life as well, as we ride on board with Alex Neller, who switched from the Lamborghini to the Porsche this year, as we go 3 wide into turn 1. Oh, easy, boys.
Oh, careful! And Alex was always going to be onto a loser there, being the outside one of the 3. Because, Chris van der Ness, he was sort of, they both broke late, did van der Ness and Adrianson's, and it's just pushed them out towards Alex Neller, and unfortunately for him, he's given a little tap to the back there of van der Ness. I mean, you know, all's fair in love and motorsport, but, you know, let's keep it clean. Let's have a nice clean fight.
You don't want to run the risk of adding unnecessary incident points to your tally as well. They're handed out 1 incident point for a breach of track limits, 2 for a spin, and 4 for contact with another driver if it's deemed strong enough. A little tap like that, it's often 50-50 whether it comes up or not, but if you accumulate enough incident points, you will get a penalty, so you've got to look out for that. And at a track like this, a Grand Prix track, Paul, track limits is that you can easily rack up those single incident points over time.
If there's one thing that gets me ranting more than sausage curbs, it's track limits.
Get your bingo card out, folks.
Jack Sedgwick down onto pit road for his first pit stop. It's 1 hour and 9 minutes remaining. It's a little bit early, I think, because you're talking about 45 minutes for the fuel to last in these cars. With the fuel limit that they've got in these races, they do have a hard fuel limit in these ones of 75%, so you don't get the full hour like you would in a normal race. So yeah, I think just a little bit early from Jack.
It's not. I think he's just trying to get into some clean air and start lapping. And I think also the position that Jack was in there as well, I think he needed to just try something different. Maybe it wasn't quite lapping on the leading pace. And we've seen Jack win endurance races in this car, in this championship many times. I mean, I remember when he debuted this new Evo version of the Ferrari, or new to iRacing Evo version, when he won the endurance race at Detroit. He was flawless. So he can do it. I just wonder if he's maybe just trying to throw the dice a little bit. But he can get home without taking any extra stocks.
Yeah, he's got to. I mean, first of all, it's mandated to pit stops anyway, so that's why the series organisers go and limit the fuel that you're allowed to carry in the car. But yeah, he'll need to make a second pit stop. But you can more sort of even out the fuel load throughout the race. So if you start the race with a full tank and then you just take on not quite a full tank again, and just even out that fuel load. Maybe you're evening out the tyre wear as well if you're not having to carry as much fuel for the start of your second stint.
Yeah, it's interesting to see which cars or which teams and drivers are going to manage that challenge best. So, let's see, this is not a battle for class position. Oh dear. Oh, Alex.
Yeah, I'm going to steal a certain Norfolk commentator's line here. That was a day short. Oh my goodness! I said I'm going to steal it, and that was a day late and $1 short. There we go. That finally came out. Was that move? It wasn't really on there, was it? That move, especially at turn 11, you can make moves there, but you've got to have the cooperation of the other car as well, haven't you?
Yeah, and this is where, again, we talked about it at the top of the show, how we have 3 classes racing, and everyone's racing against those in their class. However, they're all on the same racetrack. They've got to coexist. And that is one of the things that we ran into last year, where some of the pro drivers, sometimes assumed that, Pro-Am and Ams, they've got to just get out of my way, I'm the fastest. Well, no, that's not how it works. Likewise, the Pro-Am and Am drivers need to pick their battles and think, is it worth it to battle with this pro car? Do I have the pace to hold them off or not? So that's the drivers that win their respective classes in World GT are those that, are the complete driver who are fast, but also can coexist with the others on track as well.
Patrick Faulkner just making his way past Jack Belton. Good to see Belton back again for another season. The DCW racing car, very distinctive livery. You're not going to miss that in a dark alley, that's for sure. But the Penguin RC simulation car of Jack Belton is currently out there. Slight damage to this front. You can see that on the bonnet there, just how it's sticking up a little bit more on the right hand side. And that's going to be affecting his top speed in the race. But as you mentioned earlier, Peter, fast repair, for those of you who don't know, that is basically effectively a brand new car when you come onto pit road. You only get one of those in this race, so use it wisely. And I have seen it in the past where people take the fast repair for a little bit of aero damage that's maybe costing them 3 or 4 kilometers an hour down a straight, and then big contact. What on earth happened there?
McFarlane. That was Ross McFarlane. That's a rare thing, as straight away the number 63 Porsche there for Satellite Racing, Alex Gall, goes straight through. No,
that was Davidson. That wasn't McFarlane, that was Davidson.
I do apologise.
They're running the same livery, to be fair, so I'll give you that. But yeah, that was really strange. It was almost like Jack Osborne's hit the brakes or not accelerated at full. Oh, that's a heavy hit into the wall there.
It's just here on board what his throttle input is there, because it did seem to catch Davidson out massively.
I mean, is that a case of he's just trying to let that guy past and he's just let off the throttle a little bit, and the unfortunate thing is that Davidson was giving it full chat and not quite had moved to the right?
I'm not sure. It did seem bizarre. unless it was the same. No, I don't think. Unless it was the same issue that we saw earlier with being on the rev limiter, hop over the curb and blow the engine, and that was what lost all the power. I don't know. It seemed a pretty sudden loss of forward momentum. I mean, I'm sure, we can say that Davidson would carry more corner speed as a pro class driver, but not that much of a difference. Let's listen.
This is Davidson, who were a bit behind.
Oh,
it just suddenly slows. And to be fair to Alex, he doesn't realise that that's happening until it's too late.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. It's you're definitely not expecting that to happen. And the brake light didn't come on either. And it was like someone had hit the brakes. It's oh dear. Well, Davidson what were we talking about? Fast repairs. Davidson might have to use up his fast repair in the pit stop.
Here we go. Yeah, it's a definite lift off the throttle, or well, we're assuming a lift off the throttle. It could be a mechanical failure with the pedal set that's caused it to not give it full throttle.
Very strange, very strange. Well, and Davidson forced to come into pit lane to take his pit stop, so obviously picked up some damage. Yeah, you can see a little bit of scrapes on the front of the car, a little bit of crumpled front hood there, and let's see if he takes it, because we'll see there if the car sort of morphs. Oh dear.
No, he's not
taking it. Yes, he has. The front was changed.
Right, so Davidson then used his fast repair. We have seen it in the past, so the point that I was going to make before that incident, we've seen it in the past where the driver uses the fast repair to repair some aero damage. They come out and a couple of laps later they put it in a wall, and that's the end of their race because they can't get a fast repair because they've used it already. You've got to be careful with that, haven't you?
Yeah, very true. Yeah, it's how confident are you to keep the car out the fence before that. Yeah, very, very interesting. Speaking of interesting, Macheski, he's sort of fallen back into the clutches of Ross McFarlane. Ross McFarlane is sort of cracking on with the same pace, and Macheski's going to come back to him a little bit. Now, we are approaching the very end of the first pit window, so these cars could be coming into pit lane any moment now. If they've got any more fuel, it'll be one lap more at the most. And Macheski, you've got to think that he will have to spend longer in pit lane than McFarlane, because McFarlane's definitely been able to fuel save that bit more. But as first things go...
There's some contact further back for Ed May, and that was the 64 of Adam State making an ambitious move. And look at that, both of your race leaders onto pit road. Alex Gall has actually made it an extra lap, so too has Josh Thompson. The Thompson has been able to do some good fuel saving. Meanwhile, we appear to be having a pit party with pretty much everybody else heading down onto pit road. This is crucial now, and you would imagine that Ross McFarlane is going to take a little less time on the fuel-wise, because he has been behind all this race.
All things being equal, yes, but I do wonder if Macheski will just try and slot in behind McFarlane here, coming out of the pits if he can. Oh, Macheski going for tyres. Oh. Okay, the car up on the jack, so Macheski is going for tyres, as is McFarlane. Oh,
yeah, I mean, the track temperature has been fluctuating. It's gone up to 43 degrees at one point. It's now back down to 40 degrees, so it is quite warm. McFarlane's the first to lead the pit lane, so he's only taken possible left side tyres, or maybe even just the front left. But your former race leader, Macheski, comes out 50-second pit stop. That tells me that's what, 2 tyres? McFarlane on the one?
It's hard to say, very hard to say. Let's wait and see what the others do. I think there's definitely, I mean, it's pretty much everyone taking tyres here, it seems.
And I know he took a shorter pit stop, but Jack Sedgwick now has jumped the rest of those that have pitted so far. So he's the leading car that has pitted, but he took a 25.8 second pit stop. Ross McFarlane's pit stop was 44.3 seconds. Josh Thompson pits, and Alex Gall still stays out. That's going to be 28 laps on his stint if he makes it to the end of this lap.
And what car is he in? A Porsche.
Yeah.
That frugal Porsche.
it is showing its worth here in these types of endurance events. So it may not be the out-and-out fastest, as you say, Peter, but it's certainly got the race strategy is available and open to them. I'll be interested to see what does Thompson do here. We know that Jack Sedgwick hasn't taken any tyres, as there goes a boosted car.
No tyres for Thompson.
No tyres. Okay.
Now that's bold, because that BMW chews tyres.
Yeah.
The turbocharged motor, of course, it's a straight six twin turbocharged. It's really quite aggressive power delivery, and it eats tyres. So I wonder if Thompson might do a quick stint, a single sort of short stint here, and then put them on at the next stop, possibly. Oh, we've got ourselves an endurance race here. World GT is back, Paul. Yes.
Absolutely, it's brilliant. So Josh Thompson was 31 seconds on the pit stall. Jack Sedgwick was 25.8, call up 26 seconds on the pit stall. So you've got a 5-second difference there in fuel for Sedgwick and Thompson. That Ferrari, I mean, we have seen Sedgwick be able to make that frugal car as well himself, as here comes Alex Gall in his Porsche 911 GT3R. So the
Nella
Porsches
run too.
Nella, yeah, so both Gall and Nella 28 laps on their stint here. This is good stuff for these two.
I love this. This is what GT3 racing's all about, and this is what balance of performance is about as well. It gets a lot of criticism of sometimes, correctly, but I think, you've got cars that can do the... Oh, who's this? Oh, is that Gregory? Oh,
that's Lee Berridge.
Does well to get by him. Berridge, excuse me, of course it is, of course. So this is what you've got: cars that are brilliant over one lap, very fast, but maybe can't do the fuel mileage. Some cars that are very fast but eat the tyres up, and they all kind of come back. Oh, Neller misses his pit stall. Oh dear. Gall taking tyres.
Well, we say tyres. Could be one, as Sedgwick goes to the front of your field then. It's such an intriguing race. This is what I absolutely love. You're absolutely right, Peter. This is endurance racing at its finest. Different strategies at play, different drivers pushing on, as McFarlane trying to make his way past making his way past Adrianson's, by the way, took his short pit stop, 14.3 seconds to start with, so he's just going for a short stint now. I know it doesn't say on the pit box there, and then I think he's going to go long on the end.
And I tell you what, if he can get his hooks into former race leader Macheski here, then this could work out really well for Adrianson. He's on his day, he is blindingly fast, and I think he's a big contender for the Pro-Am Championship. I think we're going to, all season long, we're going to see a proper battle between Adrianson's and for Evo SR.
Oh, Mark Hutchinson.
Yes, excuse me. My apologies. Excuse me.
Yeah, former last season's Pro-Am champion Mark Hutchinson. I mean, you look at the order here. Everybody has pitted. Hutchinson has actually gained 15 places in this race. He's up to 22nd, so he didn't have the best qualifying out there, but he's got up and running as things are. So as things stand at the moment, with 55 minutes remaining in this race, it is Jack Sedgwick who leads the race ahead of Josh Thompson. Ross McFarlane in third place, and Michael Avdoka with Macheski. Adrian Sins, who's your top Pro-Am, in sixth place overall, ahead of Alex Davidson and Alex Gall. Gall we're keeping an eye on in terms of his fuel performance in that Porsche. Adam State 9th ahead of Matt Fletcher in 10th place. Your second place Pro-Am, Andy Archer, is in 12th place overall, with Paul Webster, your third place Pro-Am, in 14th overall. Your top Am. Now, we did see Ed May have an incident earlier on with Adam State. He's dropped down to 23rd in this race, but he is still the leading Am, just ahead of Ethan Critchley, with Adam Coles in 25th place overall. So your top Ams, your top three in Am, are all together out there, 1, 2, 3 in 23rd, 24th and 25th, with Michael Gray not having the best of days. down in 26th place. But yeah, real intriguing first stint. And it's this final stint. We've got to wait until the final quarter of an hour, really, before we know exactly who's done best.
We do, yes. I mean, looking at our two former first and second place drivers, Macheski and McFarlane, I think they've both taken 2 tyres. They were in the lane. In the box, 43.9 seconds in the box for McFarlane, 49.7 in the box for Macheski. I don't think that's long enough for Macheski to fit an extra tyre to fit 3 rather than 2. I don't even think that would be worth it either. I just simply think that's how much more fuel Macheski used other than over McFarlane. I think that's the difference there between that pair. But they're on a different strategy. Cedric, where does he fit into this? And what can Thompson do? We know the BMW is heavy on tyres. He's not taken them yet. You'd think he'd have to take him at the next stop. Who's going to come out on top? Brilliant to watch.
Alexander Davidson here. Oh, where did that car disappear?
That was...
No, Adrianson's just disappeared from shot there. He's come out behind the two that have gone past him there. And Davidson moves up ahead. Alex Gall follows him through. And Gall, I mean, this will work out for him if he can stick behind a car that's of a similar pace and get that fuel saving, even more on fuel saving for that Porsche. It's a frugal car to start with, as we saw at the weekend, but even now, being behind another car that's of a similar pace, that'll help him much more as we go into that final stint, because, of course, you want to take as little fuel in that final pit stop as possible, although he does have a bit of front splitter damage on his car.
Yeah, quite a bit it seems there for Gall. So that might well affect the straight line speed of the Porsche, which is really not what you want. The car is not blessed with very good straight line performance. It's definitely making up its lap time, or its race time, I should say, with tyre conservation. And Neller off. So and damage to the rear left corner of that Porsche 911 GT3R. So a difficult start to the season for Alex Neller in Boosted Motorsport.
It's not the start he would have wanted, Alex, and well, he's finally going tough here at Barcelona. Here's a replay. Oh, there's quite a bit of traffic. There's another car with significant damage, and that's on a boosted car as well. Is that the boosted Farage car that he made contact with there? I believe it was. I think it was Mike Horder that he made contact with there in the hairpin. It was a bit ambitious going into turn 5 there.
Yeah, there's been a couple of moves on the slightly comfy side from Alex, which, you know, we shouldn't really expect that, I wouldn't think. So yeah, definitely a night to forget to start the season for Alex Neller. Yeah, a few drivers. Adam Watson's Audi there with a very deformed looking rear wing. That's not what you need.
Yeah, they'll be really feeling the effects of that, especially around the corners as well, because it will have an effect. Down the straights it'll slow it down enough as it is, but then around the corners it'll be really feeling it through the high-speed corners. And of course, that Audi is notorious for being a really stable car through high-speed corners, isn't it?
The BMW?
No, the Audi.
I was about to say that. I was like, the Audi, no. No, it's definitely not. I mean, the Audi is in the iRacing platform. It's a very short wheelbase. It's got a huge V10 engine in the middle of the car, and it can be an aggressive machine when it wants to be. And if you've not got it absolutely dialed in and you're not on it, it will eat you. Whereas you look at the BMW, the Mercedes, they're such stable packages, and especially in this context in endurance racing, that's what you want.
Very aggressive move out there for Ed May, and so as I was saying, our graphics package, we have made some changes, so you can see the gaps between each of the classes. So like there in the AM category, you can see how first and second are just covered by a second or so, and then there's little bits of gaps formed between the rest of them in the AM class, and we've got that feature for all the classes there. And Watson with a big slide through the final corner. Well, I mean, he's going for a bit of Tokyo Drifter, but my goodness, that'll cause a bit of a need of change of underpants, perhaps.
Yeah, and that's I think that's life in that car. It's an interesting choice, but we know that Adam he's never short of trying. Adam never finishes a race. I could have tried harder there. He's always good for it. So yeah, he's put himself up to it there with the Audi this year, I think. Just coming back to that battle, interestingly, and this could play out over the course. Ed May has taken 2 tyres. However, Ethan Critchley in second has taken 4. So Ethan Critchley is actually sitting in a very strong position in that AM class battle, because there's very little to separate them, just a second or so. And you know, Ed May's going to have to make that car last on just 2 new tyres from the start of the race, whereas Ethan Critchley, he's got 4 new shiny boots on that machine. So very intriguing stuff in the AM category.
I've just been keeping an eye on the lap times for the leaders, because Josh Thompson has actually closed up to Jack Sedgwick here. He's within about 0.8 of a second, 0.7 of a second between the two of them, and Thompson has been about a tenth and a half quicker on average in the last 5 laps. Ross McFarlane, though, with what we believe is just a front left tyre change, he's been about 3 or 4 tenths of a second per lap on average faster than these two at the front. Now, we know that these two at the front did not take tyres, so they will be feeling the effects of that. Track temperature now, by the way, 45.6 degrees Celsius. Our graphics calculate it up to the nearest figure. It's getting hot out there for the track temp, and these guys who haven't changed tyres, they will be feeling the effects of this.
And that's the thing, is the tyre, once the tyre overheats, it's very difficult to get it back down again, and this has been a problem of late. Particularly the tyre here for these GT3 cars is overheating the tyre, and yeah, with that excessively high track temperature, it's not going to help. I do think McFarlane's taken 2. I don't think he's taken just 1. Judging by the times of what others have taken, I do think he's got 2 new tyres on that car. Whether they're, I would imagine they're on the left side, potentially on the rear, I don't know, but I would think just the left side only. And that seems to be what the majority of the field have taken. Some 1 or 2 drivers going for all 4, and some, as we see, of course, our 2 race leaders, Sedgwick and Thompson, going for nothing at all at this stage. Whether they're going to try and do the whole race like this, we'll see. They're just coming up to their pit window now, where in about a minute and a half's time they could pit and get to the end of the race without stopping again. If they are going to take tyres, they're going to have to do it now.
So, and of course, if you're going to pit this early in the pit window, you want to do that tyre change now to get the most effect out of that tyre change. There's no point. I mean, yeah, but there's no point in you not taking that pit stop until the final, say, 20 minutes of the race and then taking the tyre change, because yes, you'll have a significant advantage over others by taking the tyre change, but you put yourself further down in the field and you're having to really push on and push hard to get back to where you were.
Yeah, that's the thing. And the thing is, if they put if they are going to take tyres, they've got to do it now. But like I said, they will get spat out into traffic, and then being able to use up those tyres in traffic, well, that's very difficult. Who's got the right answer? There are a lot of different equations here. Who's got the solution? Well, we'll only find out in 45 minutes time. There is no runaway favourite at this stage, and well, welcome to the World GT Championship. This is what we come to expect an hour in. And our very welcome new addition, Brabham Esports, up in 10th, James Armstrong.
Yeah.
Very nice. Doesn't that car look excellent? Oh.
And right on the tail of Adam State for Satellite Racing, there is James Armstrong himself.
It's a Jody Scheckter haircut.
It is, yes. What a good shout there, Peter, with the Jody Scheckter. Absolutely. He has got the RGB keyboard, though, so he's
huge fuel save.
Yeah, big fuel save. Andy Archer has come onto pit road. So he's the first one to blink, and he did a short pit stop the first pit cycle, so we're starting to see some of those drivers who took the short pit stop coming onto pit road with about 44 minutes remaining here. But I love this, and I'm glad that the championship took this on board in terms of getting drivers to give us a view of them working the wheel, working behind the wheel. It really does sort of help humanise the world of sim racing.
Absolutely, because to many viewers, they might actually struggle to understand. So who's driving these cars? Is this, you know, randomly generated by a computer? No, this is very much human input, and it's very much raw, pure motorsport, because you cannot. There is no way of buying speed. You know, if you're in outdoor motorsport, you can hire the best mechanics, you can have the shiniest transporter, you can hire the fastest co-driver if you're an amateur driver. You know, there's lots of ways of buying speed. You can't do that in sim racing.
Cedric.
So, it's brilliant. So Cedric obviously planning on some tyres. Let's see.
Well, he took the shorter pit stop, didn't he? It was about 25 seconds on pit stall last time. So we'll wait patiently to see if the car does go up on the jacks. The Team Mad car behind him, Ant Woodhouse, is up on the jacks right now, so he's getting some tyres as well. Not that, I mean, okay, I'm biased, but I do think that livery does look good. And Cedric up onto the jacks, taking tyres, at least one tyre at minimum.
Well. So, will Josh Thompson cover that off, or will he say, you know what, no, nobody so far has taken the risk of going all out, same set of tyres for the whole race. The one thing you could say, I mean, Josh Thompson has just come off the back of a 24-hour endurance race where tyre usage and fuel usage is massively important, and you never know, Paul, he might just be in such a groove right now. He might think, you know what, I can, even in this BMW, which has a notorious reputation for eating tyres, he might just feel, do you know what, I'm going to have a go at this. Why not?
Why not indeed? Yeah, go for it. If I mean, you look at the lead that he's got at the moment, 3 seconds between himself and Ross McFarlane. And Ross is pretty much matching his lap times at the moment. But Ross has been a little bit quicker. He has closed up that gap a little bit over this run. There is the Scotsman, multiple champion of the World GT Championship. He's somebody who knows how to win championships, and he knows that getting the points matters in this series, and these endurance races do give us some good points.
I think the endurance format just suits him so well, because, you know, he just makes so few mistakes. When he could out on his own, he just drives just metronomically, so consistent. And you know that this is where, yeah, Ross really, it must just be so difficult to race against, because you know that you're going to have to either come up with a really interesting strategy or be blisteringly fast all day to beat him. You know, we see him in the reverse grid races being very clever as well, picking his way through the field. But yeah, the endurance race is definitely his strongest suit, that's for sure, as Adriansson brings in the BMW for Indy Autosport for another pit stop. Yeah,
and this is the second pit stop, of course. As we mentioned, he took the short stop at the first pit. So this will be the longest stop, and up onto the jacks, so it's going to be tyre at minimum. Jack Cedric, by the way, his pit stop was 45.9 seconds. So I would say that's probably one tyre for Jack Cedric.
Ooh, let's
or is
how
it
many
two?
seconds?
45.9.
That's two. Yeah, that's two. It's about 30 for fuel and 30 for 4 tyres, so I'd say 2.
Oh, don't forget as well that it's a 75% fuel tank as well.
Then at least 2 then, I would say.
As it's still that Brabham Motorsport, Brabham Esports, sorry, should I say. Josh Thompson pits. He's not actually gone that much longer than Jack Sedgwick, considering he's only gone 2 laps longer, considering that he was actually 5 seconds longer on the pit stall last pit stop. Is he covering him off?
What has he got up his sleeve? Yeah, he could well be covering Jack Sedgwick off here. Of course, we've seen them race as part of the same group in the past. If I remember the name, it was Cooking by 3M. There you go. Yeah, up on the jacks.
Up on the jacks, yeah.
So tyres going on for Thompson then. would suspect, too, tried to make it work.
27.5 seconds. I think he went up onto the jacks at about 16 seconds, which is about right for a short stop for fuel only. So, yeah, possibly 2 tyres there for Josh.
Okay, so let's see how it all shuffles out then as well, of course, and see how long our other competitors go in. I mean, those who pitted at the around the hour to go mark, I mean, they could basically go for the next, well, 25 minutes, so just less than 25 minutes, and then take a quick splash and dash. And to be honest, if you're out front like Ross McFarlane, 5.4 seconds behind you, that's exactly what you do. If you've got clean air, just keep going. Perfect.
I mean, this is where you've got that double-edged sword, haven't you? Where it's a case of you're out at the front, you'll carry on, but you don't want to push too hard, especially if your front tyre limited as well. He's going to get some help with getting past the Parabellum car down the pit straight. But yeah, it's that you do want to push, don't you? You do want to try and push hard to pull out as much of a gap as possible. But if you're Ross, the last thing you want to do is just take all of the life out of those front, well, especially the left tyres, and see it that you're just completely defenceless when it comes to the pit cycle.
And Pure Sims as a team need to be careful here as well, because Michael Avdoka could potentially actually pull Macheski up the road here, and with a fuel-saving benefit as well. Avdoka could provide a perfect kind of dancing partner here for McFarlane's biggest rival in the race. I know we're on round 1, and I'm not saying team orders or anything like that, but you have to play this smart. Like Avdoka needs to be really careful here, or Pure Sims more accurately need to be really careful not to bring Macheski back into this battle here.
Either Josh Thompson's pulled a blinder or he's made a mistake, because he's 17 3/4 seconds ahead of Jack Sedgwick after that pit stop. Now, he wasn't that far ahead at the first pit stops. He's doing something. He's done something a bit different here, because he only took a 30-second pit stop at the first pit stop, which was a full tank, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because he didn't take tyres. This time it was a 16-second pit stop. I think he is on the money here. But what has happened to Jack Sedgwick that he's ended up losing out so much time to him?
No, there is about that gap, that 18 seconds. That is the difference they spent in the pit stall. However, that is an enormous difference.
Jack was only 5 seconds quicker in the pit stall in the first round of pit stops.
That is. So
has Jack got his fuel numbers wrong?
Don't know. Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out by the end.
Know.
36 minutes times, we'll find out. That's for sure.
This is where we need a Shea Adam in the pit lane.
Yeah. Or Paul Truswell to be sat alongside crunching the numbers.
You still need the Shea Adam or Andrew Marriott. Yes. We need an Andrew Marriott saying, "Oh, they put on a left front tyre."
Hugo, can we arrange it to have Shea Adam join us on commentary for at least one round, please?
We need Andrew Marriott in the pit lane from World GT. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I love Andrew. He's such a nice guy. Very good at what he does.
But anyway, so as
if
we
there was a team making cheese toasties, he would find them as well. If I'm down at Brabham Esports having a cheese toastie.
Meanwhile, Michael Gray, he didn't have the best of starts to this race. He's now currently third in class, but of course he's down in 16th place overall. And look at that, who's there with him, Jack Sedgwick now. But of course, Sedgwick has taken his second pit stop. Michael Gray yet to take his second pit stop, so he does owe us a pit stop in this race. And in fact, Sedgwick just makes his way past nice and easy. And Gray, another one that has picked the vulnerable Audi R8, and good luck to him is all I'll say to him about that. And Paul Webster as well is another one who's picked the Audi. It's a full tilt are definitely going Audi-wise and really trying to tame that beast.
Yeah, if you can tame that car, there should be maybe a class for taming the beast. That's for sure. It is. And the thing is, it doesn't have that reputation in the real world at all. It has an excellent reputation. It's strange how it's not sort of transferred across in the kind of sim world. I mean, when you compare it to cars like the BMW and the Mercedes, they're so planted, so stable. I mean, the Ferrari is a very good package as well, very balanced, very predictable as well.
I could give you a little bit of going from bad to worse news, and that's for Matt Woodhouse. He had an issue on the final corner yet again, because he hasn't had enough things go wrong on that final corner with the contact with Ben Gregory, don't forget. Well, he's had another issue at the last corner. He was stationary for a while to let some cars past and then got going again, but it's just really not worked out for the Team Mad driver. He started in 49th. He's now back into 49th place. That just tells you how big this grid is, because it was 57. By the way, the car that didn't take the start has taken to the track now. Your own car. Yeah, that car's not right. You can see the damage on the right-hand side of that car. I think he's just trying to get to the end here.
Yeah, I wonder, and I think he'll have already used his fast repair as well.
With that contact with Gregory, yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's a shame for Woodhouse. Good on him keeping going though. That's what we like to see. Get that, you never know. You just keep picking up those points.
And that's it. That's exactly what you need to do in an endurance race like this, in a long championship as well like this. 12 weeks of racing. And you think next week we've got 2 races, the week after 3 races in the evening. You got that mix of format. 6 races you compete in a 3-week block. You've got 4 3-week blocks to compete in. So, my 3 times table has just failed on me now. That'd be what?
A lot of racing.
It's a lot of racing.
It's a lot of racing, and I know this as well, Paul. Looking, the organisers have done a super
24
job.
races.
Yes, the organisers have done a super job on just mapping out the calendar very strategically, and just coming into that second half of the season, there's some real trip-up rounds. They've been a little bit devious, actually. There's Sandown in there and Long Beach in there, and you think that's where the championship could turn on its head. there's a lot of Fuji as well, a new circuit. Everyone's not got this. The drivers won't have the same experience there that they do at the other circuits, and there's some real tricky rounds out there that the drivers are going to have to be really prepared for.
I think Watkins Glen, but not Watkins Glen, sorry, Road Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
I think Watkins Glen, that was last season. I think Road Atlanta will be one that could catch out drivers, because Turn 5 is just absolutely brutal.
Well, they put a pogo stick under the curbs there, I've heard. Yeah.
It will catch out many a driver in that round. Thankfully for the drivers, it is an endurance race, so they can maybe not attack it quite as hard as they need to if it was a sprint race, for example. Paul Webster on pit road right now, so he was leading Pro-Am before the pit stop, so he's getting his final pit stop done right now. So 30 minutes to go in this race. There's Paul in his full tilt livery. Brand new team for Paul this season. After having successful time with Team Mad, moving on to full tilt, taking tyres. There's another one of those full tilt cars come onto pit road as well. I do believe that was Michael Gray. It was. Ed May as well, the AM leader, is onto pit road as well. So a few of these drivers now deciding that 30 minutes is actually the ideal time to take the final stop.
Well, let's see who's going to come out on top in that AM battle. Ethan Critchley, he's right there on strategy with Ed May. Of course, Ed May was dominating. He was cruising until having an incident with another driver put him back in basically into the fight for the AM class. So who's got that one right in that strategy scenario? But Ross McFarlane still out front with the fastest lap, and just holding about 5.5 second gap over his teammate Michael Evdoka, who's got pole sitter and basically race leader throughout stint 1, Macheski. And don't write off as well the number 63 Porsche of Gal as well. I mean, remember, of course we've seen the Porsche be very good on fuel consumption. He went longer than others, so could the 63 Satellite Racing Porsche of Alex Gal be in this fight? Certainly a podium position is right on.
Well, he went 2 laps longer on the last stint, remember, than Ross McFarlane, your current race leader. So Gal, yeah, you're absolutely right. Don't write him out of this one, because if he can go 2 laps longer again on this stint, then I mean, that's a total of 4 laps longer. That's 4 laps less fuel that you're having to carry to the end of the race compared to your competitors. So these things, they all add up, and it could be a real key battle for us to see towards the end of the race. Tim Perry onto pit road, Pro-Am driver. He's taking his pit stop now, so we're very much in that pit cycle now, where for the next 15 minutes or so we will see the final pit stops taking place.
Yeah, we'll just keep a close eye. Oh, there's one of the satellite Mercedes going into pit road. It's Macheski. Oh, yeah. So Macheski, he throws the first dart at the board then. So for Maradna Satellite E-Stars then, as Tim Perry comes whoop, and they luckily you don't have to worry about unsafe releases here, as Tim Perry does a bit of a Carlos Sainz.
That was the 83 of Tim Perry coming out. Yeah, absolutely.
And the walking weapon from McLaren.
Yes, absolutely. The boosted and Virage still with their partnership as well, so good to see that partnership continuing for that team. Adam State, another satellite racing driver, onto pit road. 23.3 seconds for Macheski. So that is the pit stop time, and he's going to come out behind Josh Thompson. So that is crucial here in the overall result here, because Josh Thompson has jumped Macheski then. So that's round 1 to Josh.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Thompson's got fresher tyres. He changed the tyres later on in the race, whereas Macheski, he's on older tyres. So you actually have to feel a bit for Jakub Macheski here, because he put the car on pole, on pace, and then led the opening stint quite convincingly. And strategically, though, it has just not played out for him. It just shows you with these endurance races that 1 lap pace is not the whole equation. You've got to have the strategy absolutely perfect, and that's where the prep comes in. And you look at the outfits like Pure Sims and Redline, they've got that data, they've got that strategical planning, which is such a vital asset.
I will say, by the way, it's great to see Elliot Roberts back doing his digital photography. He was doing some photography on the 24 Hours of Spa, as Michael Evdoka now onto pit road. He's responding to Macheski then with the pit stops, so deciding that now's the time to pit and to try and get out back ahead. But Elliot Roberts has been doing some photos of this race as well, so great to see him. Keep an eye on by improvised designs for their social media for screenshots and photos from these events. But Michael Evdoka, 13.6 seconds for his pit stop. That's brought him out ahead of Josh Thompson. So no tyre taken on that pit stop.
Right. So is Michael was he one of the early takers of the tyres? Right. So Thompson then's got to get a shift on. So he's got 4 seconds to catch up with Evdoka. He's got slightly newer tyres, at least 2 slightly newer tyres anyway, to try and make that work. Is that going to be enough for for a charge at the win? We'll see. This sort of chapter is just unfolding page by page here, as each and every driver, we haven't had a pit party, have we, Paul? They've all sort of taken their own slight interpretation over this conundrum.
There's a Team Mad Car driver, Michael Blake, He's been racing against Jack Belton here. Now, Belton has taken his second pit stop. Blake hasn't, but right behind them is Andy Archer. Archer has taken his second pit stop. So Belton and Archer are both competing for position there at the moment. Now, worth pointing out, I can see why he's got a second pit stop as Belton. He has had a drive-through penalty for instant point accumulation, so it was only a 16.5-second trip down pit road. No stop for him because he had to serve a drive-through to Jack Belton. As off track he goes again.
Well, we mentioned it, didn't we, that it was a risk. You had to watch out for it. If you accumulated incident points, you know, well, you get 1 for every breach of track limits and 4 for contact with another driver. And you know, it's will we see any others in the next 23 minutes, Paul, I wonder?
Well, I mean, I've got very good access to the session. I can see people who are very much on the bubble here in terms of instant points. So I'm not going to say who, because I like a bit of drama. Now let's get a bit of drama in this. It would give a potential competitive advantage to
exactly.
Others, yeah, absolutely.
You're a very honourable man. Absolutely.
Honourable is one word that's never been used about me, so thank you, Peter. We have got 23 minutes remaining in this race, so still plenty of time for things to change out there. The crucial thing for Ross McFarlane now, he's 10 seconds ahead of Alex Gall. So I think if Alex Gall was to make a push for the lead of this race, he would be having to be a little bit closer than that. But still a podium, it is a potential possibility for Alex. Alex Davidson, another Alex, is on pit road right now, so he's taking his final pit stop.
Well, Alex Davis, let's see what he's got up his sleeve in the 555 Mercedes, as our race leader Ross McFarlane makes his way through a little bit of lap traffic. And Alex Gall, and as Davison gets back going again, Alex Gall, his best lap is 0.03 of a second off what McFarlane's best lap is, as Davidson's going to come out in a bit of traffic here, it seems, behind Macheski. So Macheski splits the two Pearson's cars that have pitted already. But yes, Gall, he's the unknown quantity here. Yes, 10.3 seconds is a big gap, but where is he going to factor in this?
Well, that's it, potentially, as we say, 2 laps longer again, fuel-wise. If he's managed to do the same fuel saving as he did in the first stint, that is going to be a massive amount of time when it comes to the pit stop. So we have had another victim of the instant point accumulation. Alex Neller is the latest one to have had a drive-through penalty. So that's 2 drivers who have fallen victim to that. I can tell you that there are actually currently 3 drivers out on track right now that are on the bubble.
And that's just 1 step over track limits, and for 21 minutes to go, that's nothing. Also, if someone runs into the back of you, that can send you over as well. That's when it can be really, really frustrating when things like that happen. But we carry on, and is the number 78 of Joad Caroni up in 4th place in the Satellite Muradness team. Muradness named that's the brand of Daniel Murad, winner of the previous winner of the Rolex 24-hour at Daytona for Allegra Motorsports.
What a name to have associated with your team as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and a very keen sim racer. And interestingly, is he still, I know he was, I'm sure he still is, but is Daniel Murad still a Mercedes sim driver?
Oh, you're asking a question that I do not know the answer to.
He certainly was. He was for a long time. I wouldn't expect the situation to have changed, in which case, setup-wise, and of course Daniel knows this car in the real world as well, setup-wise, what a great resource to have to get the car dialed in.
Adam Watson, the latest one to get given a black flag for a drive-through penalty. There's an incident. Is that Matt Woodhouse again?
No,
it's Michael Blake. Michael Blake, was that Chris? It's one of the Century Sim Racing cars. It's what, the 88, isn't? No, the 55. Oh, that's a car that's been involved in incidents before as the 55 in this race. Of course, that is Andy Archer. Yeah, so Michael Blake and Andy Archer. Something's happened there. We're not saying... Ross McFarlane's in, by the way. Ross McFarlane, this is the crucial one. He's onto pit road right now. He was your race leader. Alex Gall goes to the lead of this race. The question is now, has he got 4 extra laps to cut over Ross McFarlane? McFarlane 15.5 seconds on the pit stall. He's away. Where does he come out? He's come out in pretty clean air, it must be said. 3rd place overall. So he's beaten Caroni out. I mean, Caroni hasn't even taken his 2nd pit stop. Michael Avdoka has. So McFarlane is in a very, very strong position right now.
Yes, he is. Well, this is going to see what happens. Oh, Blake spins it. Oh, poor Andy Archer. Nothing he can do. And who was that in the full tilt car? Oh. That was close.
I could sense Connery Maddock just suddenly feeling the forces of rejoins suddenly shooting through him. That's for sure. But he's your new race leader right now, Alex Gall. Now, like I say, he went 2 laps longer in the first stint. Can he go 2 laps longer again this stint?
I would think so. I just don't know if that's going to be much of a benefit, really, in terms of, I mean, in the pit lane, I mean, basically as a drive-through penalty would put him back into the clutches of McFarlane. So this would have to be a very short splash and dash for Gall to have a shot at the win. But again, as we said, the podium is definitely on, I think, for the satellite driver. And you've got to use the attributes of the car that you've got, and Alex Gall is definitely doing that, using that frugal Porsche, that 4-litre flat 6 in the back of that machine, sipping the fuel. And,
so,
yeah,
I was explaining, by the way, Adam Watson and Alex Neller, Michael Gray, Jack Belton, they're the ones who have fallen victim to drive-throughs. There are now 4 drivers on the bubble for a drive-through penalty. So this one isn't over yet by any means. You know, track limits could play a key part in this race.
And of course, Michael Gray, that would have been those 4 points, those 4 incident points that would have put him up to that limit. Was of course that accident that happened in front of him, basically.
Yeah.
So that's mighty frustrating, but. Now I wonder this. Now I must ask. There's a Michael Gray, one of the instructors at Knockhill in Formula Ford Superstar. I didn't know if he had a sim or not. I must ask him when I see him at the weekend if that's him or not.
As Ashley Finch leaves pit road right now. But do you know what? We've barely talked about Ashley Finch all race. He's usually one that's in there, in and around, isn't he? Racing. Up in that top 10 or so for this championship. But there he is. He's had his 2nd pit stop. Comes out of pit road in 14th place. But of course, pit stops yet to happen here for a few others yet. We're still waiting for Alex Gall, James Armstrong, Jared Caroni, Yannis Albert, Mark Hutchinson, Ethan Critchley, Jonathan Walker we're waiting for as well. So there's a number of drivers yet to take the 2nd pit stop. And that is Mark Woodhouse. Oh, park the car, Mark. I think your Dave's done.
Oh, carry on.
He's carrying on.
No surrender.
It's careful with that Lamborghini coming around. Jared Caroni, the latest one, on to pit road then. For his pit stops. He came in from 4th place in the satellite racing driver, getting fuel only. There's no point taking tyres at this stint. You've committed to that, and away he goes. 13.4 seconds on the stall.
Good work there from Joad Caroni then. So just waiting on our last couple now of takers for service. It will be Armstrong, the number 47 machine, as Caroni comes out behind Jack Sedgwick, who currently runs in 9th place. Josh Thompson, he's managed to run, actually, hasn't been able to drop that 4 seconds out of Evdoka. Evdoka's doing a good job on those older tyres.
He certainly is. By the way, Ross McFarlane is actually going faster than the two in front of him. Last lap was a 40.8. The two in front were doing 41.4, 41.8. So McFarlane,
pulling away from Evdoka too.
Yeah, McFarlane, even though he's on a heavier fuel load than Gal and Armstrong, is going a lot quicker than them. It takes 16 and a half seconds to go cone to cone on the pit road. Gal has only got a 23-second lead right now as Armstrong now comes onto pit road.
So Gal is going to basically have to be a quick splash and dash, but it's going to be very tight. It's whether the podium is going to be on for
potentially.
It definitely is on for Alex Gal, I would say. But tell you what, this has been a vintage performance from Ross McFarlane. Again, that early phase when he saw Macheski, at the front, he didn't panic. I mean, don't forget the time when he just pulled over and let Josh Thompson go past him.
Yeah.
I mean, again, talk about calculation. I mean, just a vintage performance so far. And with 30 minutes to go, he sits in a very strong position.
And it's Albert there then, new to the series with that Brabham Esports car. We're going to wax lyrical about that car all season.
Everyone's going to be so bored of us talking about. Imagine. I mean, should we just start the calls now for scanning the BT62?
Can I just say, by the way, I actually had the pleasure of meeting Sir Jack Brabham at the Alton Park Gold Cup. This would have been about 14 years or so ago, something like that. It's the only time that I've ever seen my father speechless. It was a kid. That's Jack Brabham. And it was me. It's normally my father with me, but go say hello to him, ask him for his autograph. And it's the only time I've ever seen my father speechless. But I can understand why. My father grew up watching Formula 1 in the 1960s, so he's an icon of that era.
I mean, the haircut alone.
Yeah.
I mean, brilliant. I mean, son David's. I'm doing my research for my book on the Porsche RS Spider. David was basically the big rival in the Acura, and my God, he's some driver as well. Yeah. What a racing family.
Absolutely. As here comes Albert onto pit road. This will just be a splash and dash. 12 minutes remain in this opening round of the World GT Championship, brought to you by 3M. Tremendous to have you all watching here. 11.2 seconds on the pit stall. And away he goes. Where's he going to come out? Currently 10th place. Alex Nelleros is a pit stop yet, so he's not going to be a factor for Albert. And into the track, turn number 1. So 10th place for Albert right now. That's a gain of 2 positions in this race so far. Out front though, Alex Gal has gone. Well, this is going to be 5 laps longer than Ross McFarlane, and guess what? He's staying out again.
Oh, he's really making that Porsche work, isn't he? Is Alex Gal using the advantage?
I hope he remembers that there is 2 mandated pit stops in this series for this race.
I'm sure. I don't know if he'll be able to go that far, but as each lap goes by, the less fuel he kind of ultimately has to stop for. And actually, the 2 laps ago, Gal was quicker, and the last lap he was quicker again than McFarlane. Of course, running on the lower fuel load always helps. So Gal actually going slightly quicker than McFarlane here as well. This is a really intriguing performance, and using the attributes of that Porsche to the very best. And we know it's slightly kinder on its tyres as well. So, is McFarlane running into tyre trouble now? Maybe.
Potentially so. We'll have to see how things pan out. Track temperature is 46 degrees, so it's the hottest it's been all race. And just to give you a quick idea of where other people are out on track, Jensen Adriansen's in 14th place. He's currently leading Pro-Am. He's only just 3 seconds ahead of Mark Hutchinson, who's 2nd place in Pro-Am. So Mark's done a tremendous job there with Paul Webster, 3rd place in Pro-Am there for you. Ethan Critchley, it's worth pointing out, debut race, 16th place overall, and he is your leading AM driver. He is a number of places ahead of Adam Coles. 20th place overall for Adam, another debutant to the series, and to make it a podium of debutants, it's Ed May, who had that tremendous qualifying in qualifying here today. Is down in 21st after having that incident earlier on. Alex Gall onto pit road, was able to go 6 laps longer than Ross McFarlane. This is going to be a quick stop.
Let's see how long he is in the lane.
Fast repair as well.
Okay, so that will sort out that front end, this little crumple, so it would just be taking maybe a couple of hundredths a lap, and off he goes. He was not in the box for long there.
McFarlane does go past the pit exit though. He's retaken the lead. Where does Alex Gall come out in this? I think he's got second place pretty much in the bag here. Tremendous strategy play from Satellite Racing. Again, we're seeing it again. A Porsche, big strategy plays, has got them some big positions.
Well, for those who didn't see the 2022 iRacing 24 Hours of Spa powered by Hoisingveld, that was the big story of the race. The Mercedes and BMW runners were very, very fast, but the Porsche, not necessarily the fastest over one lap, but the VRS Coanda eSport outfit made the car use its tyres less and using less fuel. We're able to go a good couple of laps around Spa longer on every stint, and that was an advantage that over 24 hours gave them the edge. And yeah, Alex Gall's used that edge very, very well. He definitely is going to be more difficult in the sprint races, but in the features and the enduros, those little Porsches, they're just a little thorn in the side of the muscle from Alphabet.
Did you see that, by the way? Adam State around the outside of turn 12 on Ashley Finch. That's not an easy achievement to make. Ashley Finch is trying to come back at him through turn 3, non-forthcoming that move there. Macheski then in 5th place has got Alex Davidson with him. So Alex putting the pressure on your pole sitter, who's in 5th place. Davidson, the Pure Sims Esports driver, of course, Pure Sims Esports, who won the Pro Teams Championship last season. They'll be eyeing up a potential championship once again as a pro team. In the final corner, I think Chesky is just pulling away slightly now.
I tell you what, we're going to get a great battle though between Satellite and Pure Sims, though, aren't we, Paul? I mean, Satellite, of course, a new addition to the championship, so brilliant.
They were here last season.
Were they? Oh,
Adam State. Yeah.
But not with this presence though, not with so many drivers. So I just want to know when our very own Ryan Walker, the other half of Double Scotch, he's a Satellite driver. Come on, Ryan, when you get behind the wheel. And he's quick. He would never say so, but he is so fast, this Ryan.
Yeah, he is, and he loves his endurance racing as well. Does Ryan? He's such a passion for GT racing and for endurance racing. So
he's waiting for Aston.
Well, I know that he has been watching, I think, earlier on as Ryan. So I'm sure he's keeping an eye on how things are going right now in this race. But Chesky just moving away now from Alex Davidson. So I think Davidson just not able to hang on at the moment with the lap time wise. Even Critchley and Mark Fletcher is also a close race out there with 6 minutes remaining. Where's the time gone, Peter? This race has just absolutely flown by.
I tell you, it's been a long wait from season 11 to season 12. I know it hasn't been that long in terms of months, but it's felt like a long wait. It's so good to be back Monday nights here on RaceSpotTV. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant. These drivers put on such a good show.
Yeah, set an alarm for every Monday night on RaceSpotTV. Set a reminder. Do everything that you can. Subscribe, like the stream, do all of that YouTube stuff, and enjoy your Saturday Monday evenings, because that is certainly what it is all about here. Look at that dart to the outside, down into the braking zone. This is all over 8th place in Pro-Am. This is tremendous. Look at the gaggle of cars here. Adam Hedgecock's involved in this, Andy Archer, Michael Gray, Adam Watson and Mike Horder, all together.
It's like watching a dirt sprint car race at Eldora or something like that. Don't know where to look, who's in what position. It's chaos. Fantastic though. All the drivers, I bet they're all giggling from ear to ear here. Probably sweating a bit slightly as well, because this steers. Audi goes up the inside there, big time.
Yeah, big dart, that's for sure. 2 Audis in this, a Ferrari, a couple of BMWs as well. As Phil Samwise is onto pit road for a pit stop, third pit stop, so not being his day here today. And still, there's an ever-growing list of drivers who are sat on the bubble of 23 incident points. That's getting a bit tense there between those drivers, but away they go. And Michael Gray back to the head of this gaggle of cars.
I hate to say it, but Adam Watson, we know that he pushes so hard in that 99 car, using the Porsche last time out, really doing some giant killing in that car. And the Audi, it just doesn't. Nearly breaks away from him there. He doesn't look his same kind of confident, aggressive self, actually, Paul, in that car.
That's James Armstrong, by the way, in the middle of this group. He's a lap ahead of these, and look at them. He doesn't know where to go because they're all busy squabbling over each other, and the worst thing that could happen here for him is in 7th place overall is getting involved in somebody else's accident.
Yeah, he needs to be very careful of that. Also needs to be very careful. Jack Cedric's about 4 seconds behind him. And yeah, you don't want to get caught up in this too much, because if you are in that battle, you will lose so much lap time. And Cedric, he's out on his own. Looking at the lap times from last time by, Armstrong, oh dear. Yeah, 143.9 last time by, just refresh. And then a 141.2, so 2.7 seconds. Armstrong dropped to Cedric last time, so yeah, he's got to be careful here. Let's get a look at Adam's body language. Yeah, big wiggle there. See how he gets on with this.
Yeah, you see him through the right-hander here, over the crest. Not too bad through turn 9 then. And heading down towards turn number 10. I can actually tell you that Sedgwick on the 5-lap average, on average, every lap for the last 5 laps has been 1.3 seconds quicker.
Well, we've got 2 minutes left. Cedric's got he's got a long way to go and a short time to get there. 3 seconds. Oh, look at here goes. Oh, what was that? I'm sorry, Adam. How do I ever doubt you? The confidence is back. That's the old Adam Watson. There we go. That was an amazing move. Wow. Yeah.
Who's this?
Oh,
this is Alex Davidson. It's a drive-through penalty. He's the latest one to hit the limit, and that's going to drop him down here. Where's it going to drop him down to? Well, there goes Cedric. It's going to be Caroni, is it? Possibly coming past. Caroni's coming at full speed. There he is in that satellite racing car. The red and blue car. Not quite with Alex Davidson, but now Davidson's going to be feeling the pressure here from Caroni.
Yeah, big time. That's not what he wanted, and he'll be furious as well. He'll have known he was getting close to the incident point limit, and just when he just stepped over a track limit breach, and that was enough to give him a drive-through penalty. And Caroni having a look here, and oh, Nella going slow. What's going on here? Whoa, dear, whoa.
Is it big
got some damage? Yeah.
He's trying to drag that car to the finish, isn't he?
Yes, he's not got a fast gear left.
Sedgwick! He's gone over the limit. So too has Nick Salaputis. Sedgwick is around. What on earth is happening here? We've got a minute left and everything is happening at once.
Oh, look, there's the Ferrari as well.
That's the 13.
The same team, same car.
Hedgecock. No, that's Altitude Esports.
Ferrari of Adam Hedgecock.
I'm so used to seeing Adam Hedgecock in a boosted car.
Yeah, that's the world is off its axis. That's not right.
So that's enough one. James Whitehouse has just picked up a drive-through penalty. So everybody in the last minute, 3 drive-through penalties getting applied. Now you're better off serving it, because a drive-through penalty, if you don't serve it, you look at an extra about 30-35 seconds added to your race time.
Yes, you are better taking it. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, So all that we say. Oh, it's Neller's off again. He's trying to drag that car. Oh, what a disaster start to the season for poor old Alex Neller. But Ross McFarlane, that's probably not what you wanted to see, a Porsche broadside across the circuit on the last lap. This has been vintage McFarlane. What a drive. And you have to say, Alex Gall, what a performance from him in the little Porsche.
Yeah, superb stuff as there's Jack Sedgwick serving his drive-through penalty. Oh, it's not quite worked out for Jack, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Peter. One person that has worked out for perfectly is your race leader, Ross McFarlane, coming through towards the end of the lap as Neller takes another trip to the kitty litter as well. He's just trying to drag that car to the end, but Ross McFarlane, he loves the endurance races here in the World GT Championship. Just one more corner to go. He'll see the checkered flag here, and it's a race win in Season 12 for your Season 11 Pro Champion, Ross McFarlane, across the line for Pure Sims Esports.
Super performance, and Mercedes AMG in the winner's circle here in the World GT Championship for the first time in a long time. That new Evo car doing a great job here in its arrival to the iRacing service. Brilliant stuff, but driven beautifully by Ross McFarlane as always.
Jensen Adriansons is your leading Pro-Am driver. He's going to be finishing shortly. He's actually in 13th place overall. Tremendous drive from Adriansons, and not that far behind him is Ethan Critchley. What a debut for him, the AM driver. He's the AM leader as well. 14th place overall. Adriansons, I mean, he's been threatening this when he came into the series last season. It's now coming to fruition for the Indy Autosport driver.
It certainly has, yeah. I'm not surprised at all. This Indy Autosport outfit and Jensen Adriansons, they are really, really strong. And yeah, they're a big, big contender for the Pro-Am title. And indeed, Ethan Critchley, what a debut in the AM class. Fantastic.
Here he is then. Adriansons round the final corner. He'll take the Pro-Am win in class, and not that far behind him, Ethan Critchley for Century Sim Esports. What a debut into this championship. An AM winner here in this race. We're just waiting for a couple of more cars to come across the line, and then the results will be official. But Peter Mackay, what can we say about that race? That had almost everything in it.
It did. It really did. And the strategical, the race is just so well set up. Hour and 45 minutes, 2 pit stops, and how you play that strategical battle is so important. And as we talked about, the tyre wear was definitely an issue the drivers had to contend with. And, the tyre whisperer himself, Ross McFarlane, he got it best.
Let's take a look then at your unofficial race results, and it is a Pure Sims Esports win for Ross McFarlane. 6.6 seconds ahead of Alex Gall for the Maradness Satellite E-Stars team in that Porsche. Brilliant drive and brilliant strategy call from them to get them up into second place. Michael Avdoka for Pure Sims Esports, it's a 1-3 for them. He is in third place. Josh Thompson, he'll be a little bit disappointed, I would say, with that one. Finishes in fourth place, 16 seconds off of your race lead. Jacob Macheski, great debut for him. Qualified on pole position, finishes in 5th place in the end. Another debutant, James Armstrong for Brabham Esports, been waxing lyrical about their team. 6th place on your debut is a great result. Alex Davidson, after a drive-through penalty towards the end, dropped him down to 7th place. Chad Caroni in 8th ahead of Yanis Albert, and Adam State rounds out your top 10. Ashley Finch for 3M in 11th ahead of Jack Sedgwick, again another victim of the drive-through penalties. Jensen Adriansons then, your top Pro-Am driver for Indy Autosport Red, finishes 13th place overall. Your top AM driver in the standings here for Century Sim Esports, Ethan Critchley, 14th place overall, finishing actually 4 seconds ahead of your second place Pro-Am driver, Paul Webster for Full Tilt V Motorsport. Great debut for him for the team. Mark Fletcher for Altitude Esports finishes 16th ahead of the 3rd placed Pro-Am driver. Your Pro-Am champion from last season, Mark Hutchinson for Evo SR, finishes 17th place. 18th for Chris Van Den Ness, and then it's Adam Coles for Evo SR. It's a 1, 2, 3, 17th, 18th, 19th for Evo SR, with Adam Coles finishing 2nd in AM, 1 lap down with Tim Perry in 30th place. Ed May, good display from him. Top 10 qualifying, but after contact earlier on in the race, finishes in 21st place, but 3rd place on the podium in AM category. Alex Neller dragged his Porsche to the end of that race, finishing 22nd overall ahead of Patrick Faulkner, Martin de Jong, Richard Simner, with Adam Watson, again, another one who had a battered and bruised car part way through, down in 26th. Jonathan Walker moving up through the field into 27th. Michael Gray, victim on lap 1 with an incident, had to basically have a recovery drive from that to finish in 28th, with Mike Horder and Andy Archer finishing off in top 30. 31st for Russell Barnes, then for Altitude Esports Blue, his teammate Adam Hedgecock, we saw at the end he was spun on the track with Jack Sedgwick. Jesse Payne Wilkins in 33rd with Craig Jones 34th. Christian Malsharek for 35th with Jack Belton. Lars Van Rijn, your AM champion from last season, in 37th. Phil Samways ahead of Brendan Stacey, and Ben Gregory rounding out the top 40. And still they come. Lee Berridge in 41st place ahead of Nick Salaputis. Simon Neller 43rd ahead of Jim Whitehouse with Sarah Raab after an incident earlier on. Had to take a tour, fast repair, and does finish the race. Brian Sean in 46th place along with Paul Crawford. Mark Woodhouse, the last of your runners, in 48th place. And then those that did not finish, Michael Blake, Jeroen Kaiser. It's a bad day for Team Mad here today. Tom Dadswell, Pete Harrod, not his day at all for him. Jack Osborne, David Nichols, Kevin Kittleman, Eric Haag, and Andy Gilmore all did not finish that race. But Peter, one man stood above everybody else, and that is Ross McFarlane. And I believe we can have a word with the man himself round about now.
Ross, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box. That was some drive. Tell us about the story of the race from your seat.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was quite a test. I think the strategies were all over the place. I didn't really quite know what was going on in the race until the last, 5 minutes really. But no, I really enjoyed that one. The start was not ideal. I kind of messed up qualifying a little bit. It maybe didn't have quite of the aggressive style of set you needed for quali, but yeah, I just had to drive my own race. I let Jakob drive a little bit away from me. I let Josh through because there's no point in pushing these tires. They're so sensitive, and just managing them is the real key at the minute. And I just want to say, massive race to Alex, massive congrats, because I've not seen someone drive like that with the Porsche, certainly, in World GT, and he did an excellent race, so nice job to him.
It was very impressive, yeah. I mean, I'd certainly echo your point, Ross. We had no idea what was going on with the strategy either. Can you reveal to us what we saw drivers taking tyres, but what was your outlook on the tyres? Was it 2, was it 4, and where on the car did you fit them?
We weren't sure going into the race because it was going to be massively dependent on temps. I think there's no secret in it. Right now on iRacing, if you can double your tyres, you do so. If you can triple them, you do so. Fresh tyres just don't seem to have the same initial performance beyond that first lap. They kind of go off for 5, 6, 7, 8 laps before they come back to you. So it's a bit of a confusing one. And I think, that was evident in the race. So as soon as we saw the track temp go up, came into the pits after the first stop, and the left sides were just disappearing, and that was the notice to take the lefts and just push it from there. I think maybe some were too aggressive on their rights, which didn't open that strategy up to them. So that was easy enough for us, not so for others. I think Alex had the same strategy as well, and you see at the end of the race it pays off. It
was fascinating to watch, that's for sure, Ross. It's a great start to defence for your title. I mean, before we let you go, I mean, what's the atmosphere like in the Pure Sims camp at the moment? You're running a new car, the Lamborghini is back at the garage, the new Mercedes is out. What's the feeling like in the camp heading into this season?
It's good, yeah. I mean, we enjoy the Merc. We've had experience in the older Merc. I mean, I've even driven it in this series around here before. I managed to win a race then, and the Merc just has that specific driving style. It's much like the BMW, but you know, it just has a little bit of a different steering feel. The traction's a bit different. You can have a bit more fun with it, and yeah, we're looking forward to playing out the rest of the season in the car and seeing how we do.
As are we. Ross, congratulations on a super win to start the season, and we shall see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
So next up we have, well, Mr. Efficiency, Alex Gall, in that little Porsche. Alex, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box.
Hello, guys. Yeah, it was saving tires and fuel for me.
You certainly did a good job of it. I mean, take us through your race, Alex. What was the plan coming into the race, and did the race end up playing out like you expected it to?
To be honest, I didn't really have any plans. I just went with it. I tried to make a little bit of understeer in the setup because I know with the Porsche and this track, like the fast left-handers were gonna be, I mean the right-handers, sorry, were gonna be difficult, and they were. And when I changed the left side tires in my pit stop, then the car was just really good. Like I had no problems whatsoever with the oversteer or the understeer, and I guess the pace was good enough on the tires.
Yes, it certainly was. I mean, tell us about the fuel. I mean, is it a surprise to you that just how much better the Porsche seems to be on fuel? But I mean, there are other Porsches in the race, but you seem to be able to eke out that fuel a little bit more. It's have you been watching Scott Dixon onboards or something like that? What's the secret?
But I'm also surprised because I did a bit of testing with all the cars, and the Porsche seemed better, but not to a degree that I would make 2 more laps. And with the team, we thought everyone was going to save a lot of fuel, and that didn't really. I mean, I guess that happened, but somehow I was scared because since the Porsche doesn't have a really good top speed, I thought, okay, I cannot save, so it's over for the fuel saving. And in the end, I just went on with it, and somehow I made 2 more laps on fuel, so I don't know.
Well, it certainly worked, that's for sure, Alex. Congratulations on a first podium here for season 12. Well done, and we shall see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see next week, and I hope to do a 0x race again.
So that was Alex Gall, podium finisher here in the World GT Championship. We're now joined by Josh Thompson. Josh, it was a race of strategy that maybe came undone a little bit with an incident midway through. Tell us about the story of your race.
Uphill battle. A lot of work to do, I think, is the best way to say it for me. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit bamboozled myself, to be honest. We struggled at Spa with a bit of tyre issues compared to the Mercedes. So going into this, I expected it to be bad as well. But after the first half, in the first stint, after that incident, well, even before that incident in turn 3, the BMW started coming back towards the guys in front, so I was quite confident. But yeah, I had that incident. I had another incident later on with someone else, so it just destroyed the right sides. And yeah, I just had no grip really the entire stint, regardless of how hard I pushed. So it was just bring it home and just move on to the next week, to be honest.
Well, we shall see you there, Josh. A good start to the season and great pace in that car. Looking forward to seeing you out there next week.
Cheers, guys.
So next up, we have thick and fast. We have Ed May. Welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box, my friend.
Howdy, Peter. Yeah, a long time no seen. Last time we were together, it was actually me commentating on one of your races on our racing. So out the turns table.
Well, I certainly think. Well, I'm definitely better at this than I am at driving. I hope so. Anyway, Ed, you had a super debut performance in the World GT Championship. How did you feel it went?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mad one, really. I was having a nosebleed after my qualifying. I had no idea how I managed to pull that lap out of somewhere, but other than that, it was just a free fall after that point, just trying to stem the tide of pros and pro-ams that were inevitably going to come past. But yeah, to finish with a podium in the AM class, I'm overjoyed with that. That's exactly what I was going in for, hoping. Oh, yeah, get your words out, Ed. Hoping for coming into this.
Well, I think it was a super job. Plenty more to come, I'm sure, Ed. Thanks so much for coming to join us, and good luck next week.
No problem, yeah. Cheers, you two. Cheers, everyone at RaceSpot. Great show.
And last but certainly not least, for our driver chats tonight, we have pole sitter Jakub Maciejski. Jakub, welcome to RaceSpotTV. What a super drive that was in the early stages, but the strategy just didn't quite come off. Tell us the story of your race.
I pushed a lot to break the draft from the guys behind because they had few issues with traffic. When Josh got past Ross, then he was involved in an incident with a lapped car. So I just started to push a lot since I thought that was sure that I will just switch the left tires and it will be fine. But then when I came over to the pits, I had really bad wear on the right rear tire, so I had to change it, and together with it I changed the front right, because like I thought if I change 3 tires I'll just change all 4. But then the current tire model, I'm not sure what's that, but the new tires don't give such an advantage. And basically I just swapped 4 tires and was gaining nothing to people that swapped 2 tires. And yeah, that's the story.
Well, we shall see how it plays out next week. Jakub, well done on a super debut here in the World GT Championship, and we shall see you next week.
See you, thanks.
Well, there we go, Peter. Great to hear from so many drivers to give us their stories of the race. I mean, just final thoughts before we look forward to next week. I mean, that was a tremendous endurance race, I thought. One of the best that we've had here in the World GT Championship. Getting endurance and everything mixed up there.
Yes, I think it was super, and as well, Ross McFarlane, the driver who won the race, he said it best. 5 minutes before the end of the race was only when he really could tell what was going on. The strategy was all over the place, and that isn't that what we like to see, that book, just that chapter by chapter telling the story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what makes a series like this so good. But of course, next week we head on over to Imola for the first of our feature race events. That's 2 40-minute races, a mandated pit stop there as well. And reverse grid comes into play for race number 2. So we're going to see the return of the spinning wheel. Make sure you join us next week on RaceSpotTV. There's all the details. 1st of August at 8 o'clock British Summer Time, 7 o'clock UTC. I mean, Imola, classic venue. I think having them as a feature race is really going to test people's mettle.
It is. It's going to test people's patience as well, I think. Yeah. I mean, that first section at Imola with 50-odd cars going into the Tamburello and Villeneuve chicane, going to have to be very, very careful. We could see a lot of drivers having their night ended early on. They need to be super, super careful in that early stage.
Well, I'm afraid that is all we've got time for you here from the World GT Championship. It's been a pleasure to have you all along here, and what an opening race to season 12. This championship just keeps on getting better and better season upon season. From myself, Paul Smith, from Peter Mackay and Hugo Luis behind the scenes on the cameras, from everybody here at RaceSpotTV, goodbye for now.